when he says this: I presume that a wealthy Christian could live in an 8,000 square foot, $2 million mansion, drive a new BMW, and still have their hopes set on God, the giver of all things, as they magnify Christ in their honest business dealings. Now, my response to this is to push in the opposite direction, knowing that there are far more powerful ways to magnify Christ than through honest business dealings, as good as that is. And knowing that there are many other passages of Scripture that ought to get under the skin of those of us who want to surround ourselves with vastly more than we need. So here's one way to show what I mean. Jesus said in Luke 18:24, how hard it will be for those who have riches to enter the kingdom of heaven. He did not say how hard it will be for those who love riches to get into the kingdom of heaven. In other words, it's a warning about the danger of being rich, not just wanting to be rich. Now, why would that be? Why would Jesus say that? Why does wealth make it hard to get into heaven? Why is being wealthy dangerous? And let me mention 4 biblical pointers to why that would be. Number 1, the parable of the soils says, or Jesus warns in Luke 8:14 in the parable, people are choked by the cares and riches and pleasures are not neutral. They have a tendency to choke the vitality of radical Christian living. So the word to the rich, like me, should never be merely, oh, you're okay if you're honest. Well, actually, you're not necessarily okay. You're in danger. Number 2, Jesus said in Luke 14:33, whoever does not renounce all that he has cannot be my disciple. Now, of course, from all the other texts, we know this doesn't mean that Christians don't own anything. It means they are radically free from the control of possessions and always ready to do the most life-threatening acts of obedience. But the more accustomed we become to the lap of luxury, the more difficult this is, and the less it looks to outsiders as if we are, in fact, that free from things. And that ought to matter to us. It ought to matter to us what inferences people might be drawing. Number 3, in Philippians 1:20, Paul said that his goal in life was that Christ would be magnified in his body, whether by life or by death. In other words, he wanted to live and die in a way that would appear to the world that Christ was magnificent to him, more satisfying than possessions or life. And to that end, he said in chapter 3, he counts everything as lost, rubbish, because of the surpassing worth of knowing Jesus. In other words, we don't just magnify Christ by being honest in our business dealings. We magnify Christ by living in such a way that communicates to the world that Christ is more valuable to us than houses and cars and lands and life itself. Which brings us finally to the 4th pointer to why it's hard for the rich to enter heaven, namely that the motives for pursuing symbols of wealth, whether we think of them that way or not, they are, whether those motives are pure. It is difficult to keep them pure, very difficult. So back to the $2 million mansion or a house here in Lake Minnetonka that yesterday went on sale in my area for $15 million. Why would a Christian whose treasure is in heaven and whose life is devoted to doing as much good as he can and whose desire is to show the world that Christ is more precious than things, why would a Christian want to look like riches are his treasure? What would be the motive for buying such a mansion and surrounding yourself with more and more and more than you need? Now, maybe I should end with just one more question for the mansion owner. Who are you going to leave it to when you die? I mean, if you have experienced the miracle of treasuring Christ above all things and of living for the good of others, do you think that handing off all this wealth to others will help them experience that miracle? Do you think it will do your children good to make them wealthy? Or to put a palace in the hands of some ministry? My position is this: without specifying what measure of wealth is destructive to the soul or to our witness, the New Testament relentlessly pushes us toward simplicity and economy for the sake of the gospel